Now, the Syrian attack, sarin gas is alleged what was used. You've seen pictures, you've seen video, you've seen everything. And now here's the interesting timing with this, Leanne.
Right. Again, again, another attack.
Bannon gets ousted. Now Trump has a speech today, and he's seemingly changed his tune entirely on Assad, not 12 hours even after Bannon is ousted from the team, the Security Council. And now all of a sudden you see news stories everywhere where it appears that they are changing their tone, the Trump administration, on Syria. But I want to rewind the clocks back a little bit here, because what we actually wanted to talk about today was not as much political, Leanne, but actually what happened in Syria. Was this a chemical attack, and who perpetrated it?
Right. And what's weird about it, and why doesn't it, why shouldn't we just run in there, guns a-blazing?
Yes.
Like we fought against in 2013 when the Obama administration tried to use that sarin gas attack. And even before any investigators went in to find out what was really going on, they just immediately said, it was Assad, it was his people, we need to go in there and take him out. And that's the exact same thing that's happened here again. And so you can look there with some of the video. The people go in with a sarin gas attack. They have no gloves on. They have no masks. They have no protective clothing.
Well, hold on a second. You're getting ahead of us here.
Okay.
I want to rewind the clocks back a second here. Okay. Let's rewind the clocks back. This is a story from the Wall Street Journal, excuse me, from June 23rd, 2014. Headline: Removal of chemical weapons from Syria is completed. Chemical weapons will be destroyed aboard a U.S. ship. Now you go into this story and you read on. All the dangerous substances from Syria's chemical weapons program, including sulfur, mustard, and precursors of sarin, what was allegedly used, have now been removed from the country after a months-long process, a Hague-based watchdog agency said Monday. Okay, so now hold on. So, do you take this story for truth? And do you say Assad's regime in Syria no longer has the chemicals to make sarin gas weapons? Okay, so if that's the case, then all of the stories and the narratives being pushed today that it was the Assad regime, I mean, what are you saying? Are you saying that this story was a lie? Are you saying that that's not possible because they didn't have the sarin gas? Or are you saying that the Obama administration actually let, I guess, everyone down here by allowing the Assad regime to actually have sarin gas weapons, even though they said they didn't? Right. What is the answer?
Well, let's not forget that this was after Obama made his red line and then didn't actually act on the red line. So they had to have a win. So their big win was that they were able to go in there, work with Assad. He destroyed. And Assad said, look, I don't even need these weapons. I didn't use any of these chemical weapons. Take them all. The only reason why they're sitting on them is because they're very hard to destroy without causing a huge mess. So that was kind of a win for the Obama administration that they were able to get in there and take care of these chemical weapons. So you think, okay, well, that's the end of that. Good for you. Well, then now here, once again, without any evidence, it's just immediately it's Assad's regime, where you have the Syrian people saying, no, again, it's the rebels.
What's amazing to me about Syria, what they're trying to do is they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. Like you just said, the Obama administration praised the fact that they were able to remove these chemicals from the Assad regime so they couldn't make sarin gas weapons. Then they try to blame the Assad regime for multiple sarin gas attacks. This isn't the first one. We've got a report that will air later that you actually shot a while ago. But keep in mind as well, what else is being done here is the Assad regime is standing in the way of central bankers taking over the Middle East. That's what is behind the curtain here. The Assad regime stands in the way of that. Putin stands in the way of that, and they consider themselves to be allies. So what have the powers that be in the West tried to do? John McCain meeting with quote unquote moderate rebels in Syria to try to overthrow the Rashad regime. So they try to paint Assad. And by the way, let's actually roll the Ben Swann video as B-roll here, guys, in the background. This is a video that Ben Swann shot last December. Proof moderate rebels in Syria are really jihadist. So what does the West try to do here to get their goals accomplished? They try to paint Assad as a bad leader who's chemical gassing his own people. Then they try to say that these quote unquote moderate rebels in Syria are the ones that are fighting back against the corrupt Assad regime. Then McCain comes out and says, I'm meeting with these people. He brags about how he meets with these terrorists. And he says, these are the people that are going to help us remove Assad from power. Okay, so now let's come back to today with all of that history painted behind us. Chemical attacks in Syria. Do they have the ability? Do they not? I don't know. We were told they didn't. McCain has been working with moderate rebels, quote unquote, in Syria. Obama tried to fund and arm these people and successfully did. Now today, Trump his administration has said, we're not going to interfere with the Assad regime. That's not one of our priorities. Now today, O'Bannon ousted, Trump administration takes a different stance, blaming Trump. Leanne, what is your first reaction, given the history, the background, and everything you've seen today, to what's happened? Is this Syrian attack? Is this Syrian attack in Syria a false flag? Did it really happen? Who's to blame?
I think it's false flag because also let's not forget that Assad, his regime was supposed to meet there at the UN. They're supposed to have kind of peace talks, the UNSC, this upcoming week. So why would he do a sarin gas attack against his people? All it's going to do is empower the people who want to take him out. So why would he do that? And this is the exact same thing that happened in 2013. It was just very weird timing. It was right before they were supposed to go before the UN. And so the UN could possibly decide in their favor, saying, you know, you're sovereign. We don't need to go in and take you out. We need to respect that you're their leader. Why would he gas? It just doesn't make sense. The people who would actually benefit from a gas attack, just as in 2013, are the terrorist groups that are there that are trying to oust Assad, that the U.S., as we've reported many times before, is allowing to go in there and hold the Syrian people as hostages because they're letting these terrorist groups do the dirty work of the U.S. to oust Assad. So they're helping to back these groups because they want him out as well. It's like their proxy army. So that's the thing. It's like it doesn't even make sense. But for whatever reason, they think the American people are so stupid that we are not going to recognize that we are living in Groundhog's Day. And it's the same story again and again and again.
Well, and the big thing for me is when trying to identify a false flag is timing. The timing of this is way too perfect. I mean, it's just perfect.
Right.
And here's another example. Let's go to this video. This is John McCain yesterday. Again, the timing, folks. And John McCain, he's one of the people involved in this. He's one of the people on the ground talking to these moderate rebels. He's one of the people also on the ground in America trying to resist Trump. McCain needs to be outed, folks, please. And people in Arizona, please do not vote for this man ever again. Term limits. John McCain is possibly the greatest example of why we need him. But this is John McCain yesterday, before the sarin attacks, talking about the Trump administration approach to Assad. Go ahead and roll that clip.
Seen this movie before. It was when
seen the movie
Barack
before,
Obama
like Groundhog Day.
Yeah, we sure have.
They would have a red line, they crossed it, and he did nothing. So I'm sure they're encouraged to know that the United States is withdrawing and seeking some kind of new arrangement with the Russians, and it is another disgraceful chapter in American history.
So, Senator, what do you want to see President Trump do?
I want him to hear him say, we're going to arm the Free Syrian Army. We are going to
Assad rebels.
dedicate ourselves to the removal of Bashar
You've already been arming them.
Removal of
The
Assad.
Russians pay a price for their engagement. The
Pay a price to the Russians.
Are also heavily involved. All players here are going to have to pay a penalty, and the United States of America is going to be on the side of people who fight for freedom, and we will not sit by and watch chemical weapons being used to slaughter innocent.
Well, then
Oh.
why do you keep giving them to these CIA-funded rebel groups? The fingerprints are always leading back to these CIA-funded rebel groups.
And again, look at the timing. He talks about chemical attacks. He talks about the Trump administration needing to change their stance on Assad and Russia. He talks about the removal of Assad. And look at all the media today, folks. Trump administration changes their stance. Assad regime guilty of chemical attacks. And what do you know? John McCain just happened to be at the foot of it. Shocking.
Well, what I don't see again here's some video, what people are seeing. And I'm not saying that this, didn't take place, but what I'm saying
Let's fast forward to this story, guys. This is the one, Al-Masdar News. Go ahead, Leanne.
that we need to kind of watch, because if you're dealing with a sarin gas attack, you're not going to go in there with no gloves on, no chemical wear, protective wear, no, not even a mask or anything, you could be susceptible to the nerve gas. Like what? Come on.
So here's a story that
Makes
kind
no
of highlights exactly what you're talking about. And again, these are the moderate rebel white hat folks.
Oh,
these are the white hats.
They won
These people have been
the
Exposed.
Oscar.
The white hats have been exposed, folks. They work with Al-Qaeda. This is not
won an Oscar.
This is not a conspiracy theory. Yes. Al-Qaeda related group won an Oscar. No, go back to these pictures, folks. So you go down and you can look at some of these pictures and a couple of tweets. How about this? There's other pictures below that. But look at this tweet. This Dr. Shahjul Islam, if you buy this could be, I mean, this could be totally fake. Okay, but I'm just saying, this guy claims he's a doctor in Syria and that he's attending to all these patients that are flooding in. But somehow he has time to tweet. Somehow he has time to record footage.
And then anybody that wants evidence, I'll send you the video.
Yeah,
I got
amazing.
so much time in my hand.
Amazing how that works. Now
triage all these patients.
Keep going down. Now you can see some of the pictures that Leanne is talking about. It just kind of, you know, it just looks a little weird. People don't, not everybody has gas masks on.
Well,
people
yeah,
are
and
kind of
someone
just
points
standing
out, like,
around.
where is this hose coming from? Just out of the wall there. So it's kind
the
of
white hats.
dug out of the rock there. So they're pointing out that carved in the mountainside, this is where a particular group hangs out and lives and is able to protect themselves. So even giving more reason to why people think that this is totally a setup video.
You know what? And let's go ahead and roll these videos now, guys. Let's roll these videos now. Let's roll the Aleppo boy video. We'll just roll that as B-roll, and me and Leanne will talk over it. Let's go to the Aleppo boy video. Now, this is a video that everyone remembers. Here he is. And look at this, folks. This is how they're set it up.
Setting up the shot. And everyone remembers this iconic photo where he's there sitting sadly.
Oh, it made every news. This is why I pulled this clip, because it highlights how they set it up, how this kid's actions don't merit somebody that looks like they've just been bombed.
He sits in an empty, pristine, modern ambulance.
Now watch this. He's touching allegedly an open wound and not seeming to care.
Like, oh, what is this stuff?
Yeah, oh, I have an open wound from an explosion, but it doesn't seem to hurt me much. And then boom, every news agency.
Yeah, 400 newspapers, the exact same story. Assad and Russia kill children. They have to be stopped.
So there's one example of how this stuff works. Yeah, there's CNN. They're going to run with it all day. MSNBC. There's one example.
Hey, man, that one made me cry, too. That was a sad photo. That was a...
Of course. And who knows if, I think that's Kate Boldan, I think is her name on CNN.
Yeah, and it's a still picture only.
And who knows if she even knows what's going on.
Even though there's video of the boy, they only use that still.
She's,
she didn't use the video footage on her television show that likes B-roll.
Oh, yeah, there it is again.
Photo.
There they put that.
Move the boy's body.
So here's just another example of this. Now, we've actually got another example once this video comes to a close. Okay. Now let's go to the fake car bomb attack.
And this one is like, you can't even.
We'll talk over this one too. Go ahead and roll this one, guys.
This was in Iraq in what year? I don't see it here. This was last year?
You know, I'm not sure. I think it was 2016, but I really am not sure.
So here the guy, he goes, he puts the.
Thank you. It's 2016.
So
yes.
he puts the bomb in the car, gets in the drive-away vehicle and
gets
heads
away.
Off.
Yeah.
Gets out of range. And then.
All right. So there's your suspected terrorist. This crowded area, and then watch what happens.
No one's there. Boom.
There goes the car bomb.
Car is explosions.
No one was there. No one was in the area, in the vicinity.
Okay, everyone. Now it's time.
And now here we go. All right, everybody move in.
Everyone move in. Oh, we've injured.
He's down. He's down.
Oh, I've been hurt.
He's hurt. He's down. He's out.
I've been hurt.
Oh, the shrapnel.
Oh, my. Please help us.
And look at this guy. Oh, we need help. Bring in the ambulance.
Please send us weapons so that we can fight.
And wait a second.
This is what they're
Hold up.
Send us weapons so we can fight against Assad.
That looks like the same van that pulled up with the white helmets too, doesn't it? That's the exact same van.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's like, oh, wait, this doesn't look realistic. Sit over here. You lay there. Okay.
Yeah, wait, we need to get a better picture of this.
And so this is the kind of stuff they can make these
videos.
Here,
run around. Yeah, jump up and down.
Tell the U.S. that we need to send them more weapons so that they can fight against whoever it is that they're, these CIA-backed groups want to get out. This isn't. Exactly. And I got that in my report coming up where we just talk about how this is something, again, with the Groundhog's Day. This is not a new tactic as far as creating war propaganda. It's wag the dog, been around forever. And then just with the invention of television or social media, I mean, because you could see something like this on YouTube, you know, with this kind of grainy footage, where you wouldn't see obviously the setup for it. You'd just see that particular image of the melee and you'd think it was real because, well, how do they have the ability to create a fake stage with a fake
Yeah, it's
accident?
impossible. It couldn't be.
How could they do it? They're just out in the desert.
Why would CNN
We
run with
just
that story?
Yeah, I mean, it sucks that we can't trust and feel, and that's what makes me so angry, is that they use us and they use these people and they lie to us so much that our first instinct at this, I mean, for me, isn't even to trust and to cry for these kids. It's to say, wow, what's the setup here? Who wants to take us to war now? It's like, oh, it makes me so angry that that's how much they've lied to us. We can't trust anything or even have compassion for our fellow humans out there.
So let's actually go to Leanne's report.
Following 2 propaganda-fueled days centered around fake photos supposedly proving that Russian troops were inside the Ukraine, the New York Times has issued a retraction. Buried deep on page A9, the newspaper admits the authenticity of the photos has come under scrutiny. The establishment media and the State Department pawned these photos off as evidence, despite the fact the authenticity of the photographs couldn't be independently verified. Freelance photographer Maxim Dondiuk, who worked for a Russian news magazine, told the New York Times he had taken the group photograph in Slavyansk and posted it on his Instagram account. He told the newspaper that nobody asked his permission to use the photograph. And this isn't the first time the war machine media have churned out false evidence in an effort to gear the country up for war. Last year, the BBC appeared to use stunning fakery in an effort to launch a war with Syria. This report was first released on August 29, 2013, just days before an attack on Syria seemed inevitable. The BBC claims it just so happened to be filming at a small hospital when victims of a napalm-style attack poured into that very spot.
Among the medics here was a British doctor visiting for the charity Hand in Hand.
I need a pause because it's just absolute chaos and carnage here. We've had a massive influx of what looks like serious burns. It seems like it must be some sort of, I'm not really sure, maybe napalm, something similar to that.
Exactly 1 month later, Obama and crew were trying to pin the chemical weapons attack on Assad without success. So BBC airs the exact same clip, this time artificially dubbing the doctor's voice to suit the establishment's need for the chemical weapons tagline.
We've had a massive influx of what looks like serious burns. It seems like it must be some sort of chemical weapon. I'm not really sure.
In a subsequent BBC interview, Dr. Rola Halam complained about the UK Parliament's refusal to authorize a military strike on Syria. Interestingly, Halam's father is also on the Syrian National Council, the political body which represents opposition militants. And if this all seems familiar, well, it should. A similar disinfo tactic was used to bolster support for the war with Iraq.
They took the babies out of the incubators. Took the incubators and left the children to die on the cold floor.
That was Nurse Nayera, whose tearful testimony swung the pendulum in favor of war. After the vote was safely passed, Nayera, the daughter of the Kuwaiti ambassador to Washington, admitted to making the whole story up. Nurse Nayera and those faulty claims of weapons of mass destruction weren't the only lies told to convince America a war with Iraq was necessary. CNN also did their part to play up the drama.
CNN's Carl Rochelle is here with me, just came up. Carl, I know we can't be very specific given these restrictions, but within those parameters, what did you see?
Well, what I saw, I didn't see anything hit. I looked almost straight above us. There was a vapor trail coming from my right to my left, and there's a cloud of something. It looks like it might have been an explosion, a cloud. I'd say it was...
Oh, I love this country so much.
These false flag mass media war campaigns are so typical, in fact, there's even a movie about it.
Okay, good. Put the village behind her.
Give me some flames, some sound of screaming.
That's good. We can link that to the press. They can downlink it on Telstar 401 Transporter 21.
And this just in, a Newsbreak special report from the Albanian front. We've just received information that the young Albanian national fleeing in this video is attempting to escape terrorist reprisals in her village.
Even before television was invented, mainstream media was still lined to go to war. In 1895, William Randolph Hearst of the New York Journal sent his employees to cover the Cuban revolt against Spain. Lacking anything newsworthy to report, Hearst told his employee, famed illustrator Frederick Remington, "You furnish the pictures, and I'll furnish the war." The establishment media continues to serve as the propaganda arm of the war machine. It is their job to file dubious reports as part of a campaign to build public consensus for ongoing interventions, from Iraq and Libya to Syria and eventually Ukraine.
Boy, did I almost look stupid.
No, you do look stupid, Charles Jaco. Great report, Leanne. And now that brings us to today. And let's get back into some of these news headlines. This is from Yahoo. Trump, Syria gas attack had a big impact on me. And this is what some people are starting to
What
get
about the
scared
same gas attack that happened in 2013 when he clearly tweeted out to President Obama, stay out of Syria. It's being used as a ploy to go to war. I'm disappointed.
And that's what is making people wonder. They're wondering what is going on behind the scenes. What was truly the motive of the ban and ouster? Was there anything to it? Was it a Kushner move? Was this just a news story propped up to divert from Susan Rice? All possibilities. We don't know. But Trump comes out today, seems to have changed his stance on the Assad regime and Syria. And when he was meeting with the Jordanian king today and giving his press conference, he was very outspoken about how upset he was with the Assad regime and how he thinks that these sarin gas attacks are a responsibility of the Assad regime. So, you know, this is something that people are very upset about. Some people look at this as a false flag. They don't like Trump's approach. Some people look at this as neocons steering war. They don't like Trump's approach. They think he's being infiltrated.
There is obviously neocon steering war when you listen to John McCain and he's right there and telling Trump what he wants him to do, which is drumbeat of war. He's always there, you know, with his drumsticks. And a lot of people can see I really feel this ouster of Bannon is a very bad sign. I think if he, you know, takes the power away from Bannon and puts it into some of these other people who are clearly aligned with these more establishment players, I don't think that's going to be a good sign. And I think that President Trump's going to be making a really big mistake if he backtracks on the campaign promises.
Well, I'm still keeping all options on the table. Some people already think that they know what the deal is with the Bannon ouster, but I'm still not sure about it. And you know, to me, it kind of poses an interesting thing because Bannon is claiming that he wanted McMaster's to fill his position.
That he didn't want to be there. He only showed up once.
Yeah, so that's that's what they're going to push, obviously. Like, this is no big deal. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But at the same time, you cannot deny, even if that is true, you cannot deny the 180 turn that the Trump administration has seemingly took towards the Assad regime.
Right.
And how the U.S. government is saying, yes, they did it. They are guilty of the sarin attacks.
Let's get some independent investigators in there. Let's actually find out before we just take the word of people who have an agenda. That say, well, he definitely did it, even though,
Well, and the strange thing again about it to me is, you know, Trump has been very outspoken about ISIS. I mean, he talks about needing to destroy ISIS, wipe them off the face of the earth. I'm wondering why does ISIS come to his head when he's sitting and discussing these intelligence meetings with people and they say, Mr. President, there's just been a sarin gas attack in Syria. Does he say, well, it must have been ISIS. Maybe it was terrorists.
Right.
Because people like John McCain are going to prop these people up as moderate rebels who want to remove the Assad regime from power. See, but
Yeah,
this
why
is how
doesn't
you
he
know
step-
but this is how you know it's not true.
Yeah.
Why would John McCain, think about this, folks. Why would John McCain, former member of the Army, I forget what his exact role was, why would John McCain, now a representative of the U.S. government, want to use moderate Syrian rebels to remove Assad from power? Why wouldn't he use the United States Army? Why wouldn't he use the UN? Why wouldn't he use these official structures to remove the Assad regime? You know why? Because they can't tell you the truth about why they want to remove the Assad regime, folks. That's why. John McCain cannot have an official government apparatus come in to remove the Assad regime, because then he would have to tell everybody involved what the true agenda is, and he can't do it. So he uses these little terrorists, moderate rebels on the ground as his own little proxy army, of course manipulated with the other neocon powers that be, to keep the wars going, to keep whatever narratives they want going. Right. Yes, bomb the people in Syria, we'll blame Assad. Beautiful, bomb the people in Iraq, we'll blame Saddam. Perfect, we'll say he was killing kids. And it goes on and on and on. And this is why a lot of people, they don't like the fact Trump is coming out against Assad, because they think this was a false flag, at least in the stance that the moderate rebels are not moderate rebels. And
that it makes no sense that Assad would do this. It makes absolutely no sense.
And Bannon out, and then foreign policy change. This has people freaked out, Leanne.
Right. Well, and Breitbart is reporting that Bannon was out and out of the council after the ouster of Susan Rice. So that was his thing, was, you know, getting in there so that to take her out. But she's not entirely out. She hasn't testified under oath. The media is rallying around her to protect her. CNN and Andrea Mitchell, these other places, are saying it's preposterous and it's within her scope of power to do that. And it's fine. If there was actually something legitimately there, she should be able to share that with the American people of why there truly was no political motivation behind it. Show us the evidence that it wasn't a political directive that you went.
Well, it was just intermittent. We're just spying on everybody, even though we're not spying on everyone, because that's unconstitutional. And the crazy thing about it, as you talk about the Susan Rice thing, if you watch Fox or conservative media versus liberal media, the story is completely different. I mean, literally, it is total parallel universes, totally opposite stories. So somebody's completely wrong. I mean, literally, one side is completely wrong on this issue. And then you look at the same thing again. Here's a story, again, from Yahoo. This is actually a mirror on Yahoo from Reuters. U.S. dismisses Russian assertion rebels to blame for Syria gas attack. So U.S. is coming out saying this is almost certainly Assad. Of course, you know, McCain loves that. And then you've got Russia coming out saying, no, this was not Assad. This was the rebels. This was McCain's rebels.
And this is exactly the same story. I mean, you could probably put some of those words in to a search engine and find the exact same thing from 2013. Russia says, wait, no, it's the rebels. And the U.S. Obama administration said, no, it's not. It was Assad. And then they were fighting. And it wasn't until people got in and they started looking at the trajectory of where these weapons were supposedly fired from. And it was fired from the rebel-held territory. It wasn't fired from where Assad's regime is. So then they started looking at that. They started looking at some of the canisters. And, you know, that's, you get the investigators in who can actually get the evidence instead of just the people with the agenda who are immediately going to say, oh, look, Assad, he's done it again. Got to get him out.
Let's go.
They tried to, you know, drum us up for war in 2013. And we'll see if Trump is able to rally all of his supporters to get in there and do it this time around. Incredible.
Well, he's got a lot of explaining to do, I think, and I don't even know if he realizes it yet as far as President Trump is concerned. But let's go back. Let's look at the timing of this again. Let's rewind back the clocks a couple days. The Guardian, EU at odds with Trump administration over Assad's role in Syria. This is from Monday. This is prior to the sarin gas attacks. EU reasserts that Bashar Assad has no future in Syria, folks. Again, timing. Timing is my key element when trying to decide if it is a false flag or not. The timing of this has false flag written all over it, Leanne.
Right. And what was the can you pull that article back up where it says it was right on the eve of an aid?
Right on the eve of major aid conference in Brussels aimed at, in part, at boosting peace talks.
Exactly. Right on the eve of a major aid conference in Brussels aimed in part at boosting peace talks. Why would Assad launch these chemical attacks. He would not. The people who have the most to gain from doing that would be these CIA-backed rebel groups.
And let's just explain what they mean by peace talks. Forcing Assad to step down or we will annihilate him. That's what they mean by peace talks.
Right.
That's their
War
peace
is
talks.
peace.
Get out of office,
War is
Assad, or we'll kill you.
Right.
There's their peace. That's literally the peace talks.
There will never be peace in your country. The Syrian people will continue to get slaughtered. We'll continue to push the narrative out there that it's your fault. I mean, and they will not even go and talk to the actual Syrian people who are saying, we want you to get out of our country. And it's these rebel groups that are holding us hostage and blocking the exit ways. You know, if Assad is allowing them to leave the country in droves, and then these rebel groups block them in, because then they're not going to have any power if they don't have any hostages to starve and beat and sell as sex slaves.
Now, here's an interesting timing and a comment from Sean Spicer that I wanted to bring up. This is the story from SOTT.net, guys, and I really just wanted to bring this up because it had the quote in here of Spicer. Spicer said, there is not a fundamental option of regime change as there has been in the past. That is Spicer yesterday talking about the Assad regime and when the press was getting after him on regime change. And again, the Trump administration policy is being echoed here by Sean Spicer in that they don't want to have part in the Assad regime change. They want to stay out of that business, unlike John McCain, of course, who hates Trump so much and wants to be all over that business, meeting with his little rebels on the ground. So why is Spicer saying that yesterday? Bannon ousted. Now Trump all of a sudden has a different reaction today. So again, the timing here, you just have to question it.
Yeah, and it's like we've already seen what's happened when you create a power vacuum in the Middle East. We saw that with Saddam Hussein. We saw it with Gaddafi, and now they're going to try and do it again with Assad.
And people are starting to wake up to see it, though.
And it's all these countries where they are. The groups are allowed to kind of live amongst each other peacefully. They have their Christians, they have their religious Islamists with the atheists. Even.
Yeah, the Assad regime is actually, I mean,
everyone can
pretty tolerant compared to some others.
But the countries that aren't, like Saudi Arabia,
he just doesn't want a central bank.
They're fine. They're fine. Gaddafi, Iraq as well. The people are all living amongst each other freely. They're not fighting. You know, you're Christians, we're going to kill you. Those are the countries for whatever reason, but America continues to say that we're going in there to promote democracy when it's like you're taking down the countries that are actually pretty fair and allowing their people to pretty much just live.
You know what? This is actually a joke. You know what? This is actually a complete joke. The Trump administration needs to investigate John McCain immediately. I mean, this is a joke. The Trump, you know what? Here, look at this story. This is how the left responds. This is from Newsweek. Are Trump and Tillerson letting Syria's Assad off the hook? Again, this is written yesterday when the Trump administration wanted nothing to do with the regime change. Amazing how much changes in 24 hours. Now all of a sudden they want regime change. We need to investigate John McCain immediately and his role in everything that's going on in the ground in the Middle East, okay? This is what the Trump administration needs to do. And on the backside of that, you know what? While they're investigating all your ties to Trump, while they're investigating all your ties to Russia, President Trump, why don't you just go ahead and invest John Podesta's ties? Why don't you go ahead and invest Hillary Clinton's ties? And I think the more Trump's administration starts to move away from its original foreign policies, its original talking points, the more people are going to be calling for these investigations to start going down because they're sick and tired of it. And Trump was moving so quick on so many other things. They want some other stuff to start getting moved on too. And the change of stance with the Assad regime right now is not good. Now, Trump did, of course, come out and was harsh on Obama, blaming Obama's administration for a lot of this, and rightfully so. But having said that, if you're going to do that, why not recognize that it was Obama's foreign policy of regime change that was part of the problem?
Right. And then don't make the same exact mistakes that Obama was really trying to make. And now you're going to go and do the exact same thing. Who is advising you? Who's actually advising you? Because
apparently Jared Kushner, which some people think might be the problem with some of this stuff. But that is a developing story that we will continue to keep and ion.
I'm not gonna sit here and take it anymore.
Talk show host is Alex Jones. He's a conspiracy theorist.
Radio talk show host Alex Jones.
Alex Jones. Jones is the wildly popular conspiracy theorist.
Radio talk show host and conspiracy theorist Alex Jones.
Deeply, I think, racist.
I just got called racist by MSNBC.
I don't want that man to have a gun.
1776 will commence again if you try to take our firearms.
The Alex Jones Show. Watch the free stream live at Infowars.com/show.